they're looking at the Institute as a vehicle, a channel in and of itself to make other connections outside of the Institute. I get it correct on that.
Okay, can we get a sense of purpose from their perspective of our contact with them?
That can be approached from a variety of angles. From one, it is a natural function of both species to reach out and apprehend knowledge. This is only one manifestation of that endeavor. On another one, I sense a very genuine and almost emotionally overwhelming intent on their part that they have no objections whatsoever in imparting their knowledge to us to enable our development. In turn, they may ask, for one range, their vehicles are indeed physical. It is true that the physical is somewhat illusory, but be very cautious with that because it is also real. There are just underlying frameworks to the physical. And in that sense, it is illusory. And so their physical ships require certain combinations, chemical, physical, energy, really intense energy. I get the feeling that it blows away nuclear power. For these reactions, they dip into our minerals. This is not a question of choice for us. It is just what they do. I get the feeling that a hard line is being drawn in certain areas just to make us take time and explore them, which they have no objection, in a rational and coherent and ultimately, in our reference, spiritual manner.
Well, their approach seems to be rather tentative. Is this indicative of their belief on their part that we might panic at the reception of further information about them?
This is correct, but they feel fine with the Institute, but they also have to be responsible for the implications. And they also sense a responsibility to people at large. They think it is a mistake to isolate the Institute. They understand the intent of the Institute. But you are correct in assessing that it is a tentative exploration. is a test. I get the impression that their overwhelming consideration is, as you said, to avoid panic and also keep the military establishment from viewing it as a threat and going after them in a military fashion. As such, hard lines, tentative maneuvers are required. Which they consider good diplomacy.
Yeah, can they give us any guidelines for the directions in which we should be developing our contacts with them?
I get a firm sense of myself on that. Okay, there's also others here at the Institute, and there are people around the world who are nurturing contact with them. I get a sense of published material. I get a sense of their inserting certain material in films. As far as the Institute, keep your channels open. Continue on a present course. I just get the feeling that the Institute's doing fine.
Can you get from them an indication whether they are a part of any sort of hierarchy? Are there others who are in relation to them as they are in relation to us?
Unquestionably, that might be best served in a session dealing solely and specifically with their monastic order. Before an interest was expressed in political structures, therefore, we are dealing now with a political unit, a diplomat. Yes, a diplomat. We have a single entity who is handling the contact with this session. And I get the feeling that it would be rude to bypass this entity during the session.
Well, we're perfectly happy to deal with this particular entity. Can you get a name or an identification for our future, if we want to contact in the future through this same entity? Is this our point of access? And if so, how should we go about contacting him or it?
First, organize your list of questions along political or social lines. Okay. That will establish the intent of the session, the particular explorer you choose should feel adequate to that frame of reference. In other words, the intent of the session, both of all concerned, should be geared to the particular areas of exchange you wish to explore. Okay, give me a second for a name here. Okay, there are several diplomats who will handle the task from their end. I started to have a sense of this person or this entity's name, and then I got just used Charlie. Okay, I'm getting a head shake on that.
An affirmative shake?
Yes, it's an affirmative shake. That later, when the communication becomes more fluent, perhaps it will be possible to understand this entity's name in their native tongue, so to speak.
Well, Charlie will do just fine.
Okay, yeah, from a personal point of view, though, their language is kind of interesting. But yeah, okay.
Well, for purposes of this session, before we're finished, I would like to get a better picture in my mind than I do have about just their meaning of and use of the term political and political structures. You see, we see ourselves here as somewhat outside of the political structures of our current times and place, and view all beings, all entities as equal in value, without a structure placed around that for governing. Now, if they are interested in helping us understand a political picture, can you get a little more clarifying information from them?
Okay, they understand the concerns in your philosophical reference. They again consider unwise to view the Institute as separate. The political structures are in terms of function. For example, Charlie, his role, his job, as it were, is that of a diplomat. In our terms, that is part of a political structure or a political undercurrent, if you will. They are quite self-governing, and yet these structures automatically exist because it is the part of their order, just as there is an order to nature as we understand the trees and the bees. And I get a sense that their energy comes forth in those terms, since we on Earth have political structures that do govern, sway, and guide planetary citizens. Do you understand the point?
Yes, thank you.
Okay, I seem to be getting a wave goodbye here from Charlie. He stresses the hard line approach for the time being in a friendly manner. Just not so much that there will be, but just to ensure no abuses or excesses will occur. Or at least, if not assuring them, at least knowing that he has done his utmost to protect his people in establishing communication. And with that, he bids good day.
Well, we thank him and bid him good day. With his withdrawal, because this the end of the extraterrestrial contact, or are there others that would speak? We're nearing the end of our own session here.
Yeah, that was what I was going to ask, how much time we had. I guess we can call it quits for today for this ETs. Perhaps later we can get back to their monastic order. That would be fun. Some other session. But if I got a couple minutes, I'd like maybe just to check out a few things on my own. Do I have time?
Yes, go ahead. Take a couple of minutes.
Pretty good. If you'd like to phase it all out, that's fine with me. Otherwise, I'll hang out.
Well, why don't you now begin to count yourself back?